Всем привет! Кстати, если вам там не хватает места,
Hello,
можете пройти.
everyone. You're welcome to sit over there too if you don't have enough room there. It's my pleasure to welcome you all. Thank you for coming.
Он должен быть интересный.
I hope it will be interested. I did my best. I'll talk about business intelligence using OSINT. This includes economic, industrial, competitive, and all the types of intelligence. So we need as much information as possible to be obtained on the legal entity. My name is Ekaterina Turing. I'm a cyber detective. I joined this from the anti-fraud. I was fighting fraudsters. I still investigate some private investigators. And together with Dmitry Abramenko, the previous speaker, we deal with business compliance, and for this we need business intelligence. So just briefly, what we did in the past. Business intelligence in the past was industrial espionage, and that's why it still has this latent vibes. Okay, what are the methods we use? So espionage, so we just get there, we hire our own teams in the competitor, and we also grab information by force, tapping, and so on and so forth. So just a few examples. So successful business intelligence and espionage. So they, know the story about silk when they stole the silkworms from China. These European monks did it, and that's when the Chinese prevalence in terms of silk was lost. Another thing is Los Alamos. The Soviet Union needed about 5 years to get information on building the nuclear bomb, and this reduced kind of the lack of the Soviet Union. Another well-known fact, about 10 years ago, the Chinese had some breakthroughs in driverless cars, and in terms of phones, the driverless cars, they are fine, but people believe that the Chinese managed to timely steal quite a lot of documents, including from Apple. And talking about the background of this, there is a difference between the way it's done in the West and in the East. And the East includes Russia and the former Soviet countries. So in the West, it all starts from business. So the men just know what to look for. They become business intelligent agents. They even have an international agency or international kind of community. They come together. In Russia, it used to be done differently. We have security and intelligence services. They do their research, and then there's people go to corporations, and so those who are kind of hired by these guys, they further proceed. Well, industrial espionage, well, it's illegal, so you are facing some illegal consequences. The long return on investment. So to obtain, to get information, you need to find a loophole, to hire someone who will be employed by another company. Then you will have to wait. Then you'll have to pay the guy until he gets his hands on something useful for you. All this becomes expensive. And so since this guy is employed by the other party, they can become double agents. Okay, we don't need to break laws anymore, and that's because we have huge amounts of data uploaded to the internet. This is 140 zettabytes, so 140 billion terabytes. Well, okay, we can understand that this is huge. So let's talk about the types of data. You can see that about 35% of the data is something which can be useful to us in terms of business intelligence, because we have 20% of financial data and transaction data and other corporate data. 10% would be science and R&D data, research, patents, publications, and we also have registries and other sources, total about 5%. So that's why espionage is not that popular. They say that about 12% of information is obtained through espionage and bribing employees, and the rest, 85%, is OSINT, that is looking for information in the open sources, and 3% of this is GeoInt, using maps, cartography, satellite imaging, and so on. And this lets you keep track of the production, warehouses, where they have equipment, what they do in these areas, and so on and so forth. And the methods are also changing. Now, open data is playing an important role, and there is one little subtlety here. So we're talking about hacking. So they use malware, unfortunately, and they also use various methods which are also illegal. They steal data through breaches. Well, it can be any unauthorized access. It could be done through social engineering inside and so on.
То есть в данном случае хакеры не воруют, а просто
So we are kind of expecting this information to become available, so we're looking for it. We can also kind of tap the traffic, we can penetrate the supply chain, and so on. So we also look at the communication of the company kind of outside. And we can also say a few words about some IoT devices, and so this includes smartphones and other laptops and so on. So I think you've heard about Pegasus, which was initially developed to be installed on the devices of the WhatsApp activists, but it became so popular that they started using these viruses to keep track of each other. For instance, they do parsing of corporate disks and chats. So recently, one company kind of invited a guy working for another company to spy for them, and so they use the corporate messengers and the corporate CRMs. They use the parser, and this was downloaded and further used. And the funny thing is this guy was found through the honeypot. The company in the thread, in the corporate messenger, made its own
о котором никого не поставил в известность.
Thread.
И этот парсер зашел в
this parser went to the thread, and that's how this guy was caught, and now they are kind of in the litigation phase.
Что очень хорошо защищенная компания.
So it's a well-protected company. They kind of try to use different devices, and then the company was cracked through these guys. Okay, so what are we facing now? So we have legal and illegal methods of intelligence. And obtaining information, technically, is quicker than walking somewhere on feet. And just imagine that some bad organization uses open source to see what's going on inside the system. So if they have some traces, then you would be able to prove it. But if they look at the way they are going to take decisions, the strategy, the partnerships, well, this information would be much more difficult to prove in terms of having been stolen, like a database of clients. So this is really difficult to prove it. Okay, let's proceed. So let's talk about the legal network intelligence. Well, it's difficult to cover everything, so I have focused on two things I'd like to discuss. So we have some references for you. We'll talk about monitoring the activity of competitors, how we can reconstruct the supply chain, and how to analyze the decision makers' digital footprint. Okay, let's talk about the competitors. Well, the more active the company is, the more I think it posts in social media, and they can kind of publish many things, so you can find some interesting stuff there. And we should start with analyzing the website. The website is kind of the way they communicate with the company. There are social media, and we have different options here, and some specific changes. So we can see these changes happening every 10 minutes, for instance. We can have a look at some decision-making relevant information.
актуальными вакансиями, потому что если вдруг появляется вакансия, где нужны специалисты определенного...
We can also look at the vacancies if they want some niche experts, then or people in a different region. This means that they're expanding.
Информация о партнерах позволяет сделать предположение о появлении новых партнерств. Ну и точно так же, кстати, изменение списка партнеров может свидетельствовать о прекращении партнерства с кем-то.
And you can also have a look at the list of projects and partners. You should also look at monitoring potential vulnerabilities, and you can also see that they are changing their functionality. We can also monitor their investor relations, and we can use some other tools like Archive or HTRM. So this, well, the web archive this is a tool which keeps the previous copies of the websites, and this way you will be able to see what a given website looked like in the past. And the next tool, like the chat, so you can find, so you can keep track of the changes of the website. Okay, let's proceed, and we can have a look at the things happening in repositories and open storages. So they have default notifications, and we have various tools which are there for their information security, like Git Monitor and Git Guardian. And if our developers publish codes with tokens and some secrets, so we can timely see this, they can be used for other goals. But the important thing is to be ethical here, because in any case, any illegitimate intelligence is not intelligence. This is breaking laws, and that's what we don't do. Okay, let's talk about some new domains, so subdomains and services. If they launch new products, they register new domains, new brands, or they generate subdomains. For this, we have classical tools. I think every network intelligence guy uses this, so we can filter this to see the domains, subdomains. So for this, you have security trails or passive total, and so this gives you information on domains and subdomains based on more detailed logic, including some specific words or combination of characters, and you also have their SL check or SRRT to have a look at the domains of one certificate. So in the past we had the secure, so we need the secure connection, and for this the domain should have a certificate. This certificate may accumulate more than one domain. So if you know what kind of certificate is installed with the domain, so we can see what we have behind the domain. So this is looking for the other domains the administrator has, but from a different perspective. Next thing we'll analyze would be various commits, developers' forums, and so on. So where our developers communicate, they might publish some interesting information. The Stack Overflow, for instance. So I think that now it is not that heated anymore because we have LMs and we can ask information without going to the forum. We understand that LMs have their own vulnerabilities, but we will not be able to parse them. But this is not a big, not a well-spread thing. People go to Reddit, Stack Overflow, and Hubber, and there you can parse information. There are webalizers and WebTrans utilities showing what web applications a company has installed. And here we have Netcraft, Shodan, and Census. They are there to identify the server software, the SSLs, the CMS, the content management systems, and the CRM systems installed on the website. And the CDN is about distributed servers. So this way we'll be able to see where the personal data of the users is held, where they have CRMs, where they have post or email servers, and so on. Okay, we are done with the monitoring of activities at the websites of the competitors. Now let's have a look at reverse engineering the supply chain. This might be interesting for a number of reasons. So when we know the suppliers, we might attack the area between the customer and the supplier. And knowing the suppliers, we might understand the business model of the company. Say we understand that the company procures some kind of products and we have a specific supplier. If we know the prices of the supplier, and if this is an international foreign supplier who will declare everything with the customs service, we'll be able to see whether the barge, what kind of goods a ship is coming, whether it's coming late or not, so we can have a look at the schedule of deliveries and so on and so forth. Okay, how is it done? So let's talk about the digital suppliers and then talk about the physical suppliers. Okay, to understand what kind of digital solutions used, the cloud servers and providers and vendors are partners of a company. You can have a look at Shodan Census, built with and Webalizer. So we used it for the technological stack, and we can also have a look at the ISO certificates. Well, this is voluntary certification of a company. The company does it to prove that they're bona fide in terms of their activity and operations. So when certified auditor comes to check the paper flow, that they have good electronic paper flow. So if the company doesn't have resources for this audit, it means this is a less trusted company versus the one which already has the certificates. We also have certificates for those who make Cisco equipment, for those who have some environmental rating, and so on. And these certificates may let you understand which software the company uses to manage resources. Another important thing, we have quite a lot of information about partners and contractors. We can learn it from agreements, but agreements are not published. So this information is there, but there are some scenarios to find this information. For instance, you have the Federal Portal of Public Procurement, which shows all the information. We also have aggregators under Federal Laws 44 and 223. Okay. We also have the contract center. So we also have the card arbiter. This is a list of litigation in the arbitrage courts, and from there you can get personal data. So you don't have personal data there, but you have information about the project. Import Genius. This is an example of unlicensed supplies through the external economic activities. There are more registries like that, and you can have a look at the previous presentation too, and there you can find different aggregators and registries where you can find information on a specific brand, who who the company asked some supplies from, and so on and so forth. And for the supplier, you can see whom and with what it has supplied. And there are different certification documents, not only the ISO. And there you can have a look at the information depending on the industry. Apart from the agreements, we have other useful documents so that you can find kind of have a look at what the company does. We have a registry of patents. This is really interesting, even if you don't do business intelligence, because, well, what do they have there? The companies often just as an experiment or just to be on the safe side, there they register various patents because they expect that in the future they will develop some technology, so they want to protect this future development. And here you can see what the companies tried to make. Apart from that, we have less official things. So I think you know that many companies run accelerators and hackathons. And on one hand, this is there to find new developers. And apart from that, all these accelerators, they are thematical because they want to sponsor what they're interested in. And this means that they're going to invest into this. Okay, ML, quantum technology, and so on and so forth. So the topics for the hackathons and the results might be quite telling. So this will be the projects that the company wants to buy or to finance. And the final item here is the contest for the worst digital footprint was won by our CEO. It means that we all live a lot of digital footprint. Well, now we are more careful in social media and websites. I think we'll improve the situation in fora. I think we have an issue with the internet stores. Well, whether you know it or not, but your Vkusville and some other platform reviews are indexed and saved around your profile. So be safe, be kind of careful, because they might kind of share the information in terms of your reviews. Okay, if we have some executive positions, so things we do, we publish, so we have geotags, and this will kind of let us reveal some personal information. How can we monitor the behavior of a CEO or any executive we are interested in? What are the conclusions we might drive? Okay, analyzing some rhetorics in public speeches. An example, a company, say, is a supplier for a given vendor. It's been doing it for a long time, but then they change abruptly and say, we are multi-vendors, we provide several solutions, but I'm not selling this vendor solution. So either the partnership stopped or the business relationship changed and so on. So the company is going to do something different. So if the company said, I work internationally, I attract investment to develop in India and in China, and then they abruptly say, no, we are registering a patent for making Russian software. Okay, if the company changes its activities, what else will change? They will change their investor presentation, because if they want to launch a new kind of line of business, they will attract funds for some specific projects. So we'll see some changes in the presentation for investors, then we'll see commercial proposals, and then the third wave will be the marketing presentation. Then the change of the positions on LinkedIn. So this is important for the digital Zoomer companies. Just better, they're developing, taking a step further, and they have restructuring. The directors today have even cooler positions than in the past, and they mentioned this on LinkedIn quite quickly. Okay, if, say, a C-level guy goes to some unconventional events or to the regions the company is not present in. Again, this signals showing that the brand is going to some new fields.
Что еще нам будет полезно? Знание о том, что компания
We should also know something about the new partnerships of the companies, or they might find new partners or get rid of old partners. If the company is now reducing its budgets and is hiring people with some specific skills, then you might understand that they're not kind of inviting a vendor anymore, so they are now developing this in-house.
На этом, кстати, я закончила
Okay.
с технологиями.
I'm done in terms of the technologies. Now I will talk about the future of cyber intelligence. And the first, going on back, one step back. So, before we had the era of internet, industrial espionage, industrial intelligence was our key field. Then it was replaced by technical intelligence, so using open sources, and now we can see that the tools like LLMs and quantum technologies are developing so well that we believe that in the future we'll be doing cyber intelligence. We are considering this now, so our future is coming, and quite often I see quite a lot of myths about it. For instance, there is a myth that quantum computers will create to crack all the passwords and codes. People are really afraid, so they believe they will launch it, then their hackers will get this, and they will decrypt everything, and in the morning all our bank apps will be hacked and all the money will be stolen. No, it's not the case. It's a myth, because now they're developing post-quantum cryptography, crypto-resilient certificates, and the only thing you might be afraid of, I think I heard this, that now a lot of data has been stolen by hackers. A lot of this data is still encrypted. They cannot decrypt it, but when they have quantum computers, this information might be decrypted. The second myth, AI will capture the world and kill everyone who didn't think it. Okay, we'll talk about AI within the framework of heavy LLMs, because they behave like humans. Well, in the past, they could talk to us in the chat, but now they generate pictures, they upload and load information, they write code, and so on and so forth. And I think we're just a step ahead. Well, the LLMs might become self-sufficient. They'll start doing things on their own. Some people think so. But it's a myth, because today LLMs are just statistical algorithms. So what is a statistical algorithm? This is an algorithm which generates as its core output, well, if we talk about the LLMs, so the output would be a text, which is most likely to satisfy your wishes. So they can have text, or picture, or a video, so it doesn't have its own will or goal, so you shouldn't be afraid. The third myth, deepfakes will make it impossible to believe any kind of context. Okay, LLMs are developing, and internet fakes are also spreading. Like today, you might generate really realistically looking documents, and we can see that now they are fighting with this, the developers are fighting with this, but this problem is not yet fixed. Now they have really good face swap systems, including the photo and video technologies, so it works well for the pre-recorded video content, and it's also developing well for swapping the face online when somebody may call somebody else and, well, pass off for somebody else being his or her equal visual copy. They're also developing audio deepfakes, and I'm confident that we have all face information fakes, which are well generated, because they can be brute force pretty well. So now they have good strategies how to make any piece of news realistic. Like they start through non-trusted sources, usually Facebook posts or Twitter posts or some kind of yellow pages posts. Then they buy some ad spots from low-quality bloggers who are ready to advertise everything. Then larger bloggers kind of spread the words, because their task is not to provide verified information. Their task is to have more views and likes. And if some modern media don't verify the information properly, then this piece of news might go to some reputed media.
And there are media that I personally trust. There's the Vedomosti newspaper and RBC, Ross Business Consulting. But the bloggers are an ever-increasing influence that make us trust them. And so sadly, the number of fakes keeps growing. Well, that is partly also a myth, because currently the methods of detection and verification keep developing, and I think we live in a short period of time when this is possible. However, the anti-fake algorithms develop as quickly as the fake generation algorithms. And I think quite soon the same ML methods that are currently used to generate content will be used to detect fakes. And a few words about the technology that will await us in the future. Sometimes we may get a feeling that the future is here and we already live it. In 2023, scientists demonstrated that it's possible to submit, to transfer information from one brain to another. So not by Wi-Fi, not by Bluetooth, but using brain impulses. And why I incorporated this into my presentation? Because this is quite curious in terms of business intelligence. The fact that an individual carries some information or can transfer information from one brain to another. Well, currently, there won't be any opportunity to check that such transfer actually took place. There are contactless algorithms that help identify whether a person is lying or speaks the truth with a 70% accuracy. Well, 70% is not quite high to make meaningful decisions, but it shows the vector of the technological development, pointing to the fact that in the future it will be possible to get information by simply being in conversation with them, by reading their micro movements to get the information about what they know about the company. So if an individual that knows some secrets, say, in development, will be under a threat. Let's talk about LLMs. So what is the current limitation of LLMs? They can't undertake any active action. We can't ask them to go on the website and authorize and do some job for us. They can only analyze a static page or a static file. Likewise, they cannot click buttons for us. But given the pace of development and given how convenient LLMs have become, it's clear that it won't last for long. I think that soon LLMs will be acknowledged as full-fledged internet users, however, perhaps a separate class, and they will be able to have personal accounts and make decisions within the limits that humans choose to give them. And a few words about quantum technology, which I must say fascinates me personally. Quantum technology is quite an interesting area for countering intelligence, because a quantum channel is absolutely immune against any interference, because interference disrupts the channel. 8 years ago, China built a first quantum network between two cities. Currently, not just China, but other countries have successful developments in this area. A few years ago, Canada tried to send a quantum signal through optical fiber. In 2023, the Japanese said that quantum fiber is not even needed, and they transferred quantum keys between two moving cars. And I guess I'm wrapping up with my presentation here, quoting from William Gibson, a writer who introduced the term cyberspace and explained it, and he said that the future is here, it's unevenly distributed. Thank you for listening to the end. The QR code is no longer there. Anyway, if you want to continue to chat, you're welcome to approach me or write me on the Telegram.